Let's talk about food, because front page of the Times today has got a story saying that whatever you might think if you're a vegan, actually eating mock meat and avoiding milk for almond milk actually is not saving the planet at all. Which is not a surprise to me, because all of this stuff is really heavily processed. The idea that you drink almond milk or oat milk, or it's not milk, is it?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think I always remember the one about avocados, where actually the kind of CO2 footprint of avocados and making sure they get to Britain ripe is huge.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if people want to choose to go vegan for personal reasons, I'm kind of all for it. But I think
I don't mind if you're a vegan. Just don't tell everyone you're a vegan.
But that's how you know they're a vegan.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think you know, if you're doing it for environmental reasons, you need to be really realistic about what that really means. And actually, back to the electric car thing. Actually, the impact on the environment in terms of, you know, digging up the minerals that are needed, etc. for it have been huge.
Sending children down into the mines of Congo, right?
And I'm not saying this is quite the same, but there is a global impact of some of these products as well. And so, you know, if you prefer oat milk, fair enough, drink your oat milk, but try not to be all holier than thou about it.
No, exactly. And then, meanwhile, inside the Sun on page 6, it says junk food ads will be banned from TV before 9 p.m. I never quite understood this banning of adverts. We did a thing on Plank of the Week last week, which was incredible. Russell Quirk brought in a load of props of things that were banned from being advertised on London Underground, right, by Sadiq Khan. Right. Things like butter, cheese, olive oil, you know, all kinds of, you know,
dangerous foods.
Really, really dangerous foods. And yet they could advertise suicide, because they put ads out in Westminster just last week about the assisted dying bill. But here we are with ministers today unveiling a new law which will kick in from October the 1st of next year. It will restrict ads for products high in fat, salt or sugar to post-watershed slots. Do they not realise that kids don't watch TV anymore?
Well, that's why they're doing the online ban as well, isn't it? But there is nothing, no story, nothing that can come out of government that grinds my gears more than this kind of nanny state banning nonsense. I nearly said a naughty word there, which is not allowed at this time of the day.
Well, you probably get away with it, actually, but probably best not to.
But best not to. But because when did we become this level of nanny state?
Yes.
Where we are banning advertising. If someone wants a McDonald's burger, they're going to have a McDonald's burger. Seeing an advert is not going to make me get a McDonald's burger, because if I want one, I'm going to get one, right? And it's the same with kids. If kids want this stuff, whose responsibility is it? It's the parents to say, yeah, we'll go to McDonald's, or no, we're going to have, you know, something more healthy tonight. Parenting is really important. Personal responsibility is really important.
Also, it's a lot easier, actually, now to order food and get it delivered to your front door. You don't have to go out to get it.
Absolutely.
And it's probably, in some ways, easier than switching on the TV. So, I mean, maybe if they really wanted to attack that, you know, put a tax or put a massive tax on people who deliver food to you.
And I would actually say that I am probably, when I'm like scrolling through my phone or whatever, I'm probably more influenced by seeing someone I follow eating something nice that makes me want it, rather than an actual advert from McDonald's, KFC, whatever it is. If I see someone eating something tasty, I'm like, ooh, I want a bit of that action, you know. I just think it's nonsense, and I'm sick of it. I am sick of government trying to tell us how we should be living our lives in these really interventionist ways.
And they hide behind health, don't they? They go, oh yeah, but it will save money from the NHS. No, it won't. Of course it won't, because it also, if you actually make people live longer because they're healthy, it ends up costing the NHS even more. But I've got a message here for you, which is coming from Simon. A voice note, it says here, message for Dehenna.
Morning, Mike. Simon in Portsmouth here. Right, it's got to the point where Keir Starmer is off so much that, can you ask Dehenna what the visa rules are to move to Brazil? Great show, mate. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. How easy is it for so many people now telling me if I could leave the country, I would. Is it easy to do?
Well, I'm there because my partner's a diplomat, so it's a slightly different circumstance. But I think, you know, if you definitely want to go and move abroad, there are always ways to do it. And honestly, having been there for 4 months now, I'd advocate it. It's been a godsend, a breath of fresh air, and great to see another culture up close. Actually, really, really good to kind of.
It is. I mean, I've always said to people, I went and lived in America when I was in my 20s, and it was the making of me. You know, just living in a different country, different perspective, seeing how other people view not only Britain but the rest of the world. It's a fascinating thing if you can do it. I would say I've said it to my kids. You know, if you want to go and work somewhere else, my daughter works in Dubai. You know, one of my other kids is in Los Angeles. You know, it's a great thing to do.
Absolutely. And I think, if anything, I love Brazil. I love the people. I love the culture. The bits I've experienced so far. But it's made me love home even more. Strangely,
yes.
It's made me really value a lot of what we have.
And you
in
also,
Britain.
when I used to come back, and you'd come back for Christmas or whatever it was, you would always like, there were things that you would miss about British culture that you don't get in America.
It's largely food and pub gardens for me.
I mean, for me, living in America,
really.
the thing that I missed was the British sense of humour, you know, because Americans are lovely people, but they can be quite straight, and they kind of didn't understand irony ever.
Absolutely.
You know, and people would come up to me, incredibly, in the 80s particularly, they'd come up and go, they used to have a brand of rainwear called London Fog that you could buy that was quite expensive, quite kind of preppy. And they were like, is it always foggy in London? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. You can hardly ever see to the end of the street. It's like that all the time. And also the streets are paved with gold as well. What? The streets are paved with gold? Really?
Yeah.
And you'd go, no, I'm making fun of you, you complete idiot. Anyway, never mind. Let's talk about Nigel Farage. He's talking about the Chagos Islands yesterday in the Commons. Let's have a look.
The presentation of what the American administration believes is a fantasy. Joe Biden is going. In fact, many think he's gone already. I have been contacted by very senior officials and advisors from the incoming Republican administration, and every single one of them is appalled at this deal. They know the leasehold agreement will not survive, just as the deal with China over Hong Kong didn't survive. Hasn't the time come for the government to admit this is a rotten deal for the UK, a rotten deal for America, and an even worse deal for the Chagosians? And if you care so much about the sovereignty of the Falklands being in the hands of the Falkland Islanders, why not have a referendum of the Chagosians and ask them to settle who should have sovereignty over those islands?
Yeah. Nigel Farage is really cutting up quite a stink, isn't he, in the House of Commons? I mean, I think he's doing a great job. The Reform guys in general are doing a great job. He's the sort of proper opposition.
I think so. I do wonder, though, whether he is getting frustrated by the restrictions of being a small party in Parliament, and that he will not always be called necessarily to speak. His speeches can be restricted on timings. I'd be curious to kind of get a view from him, whether he feels kind of
we'll get him in soon and find out. Listen, Dehenna, we're out of time. The first hour has gone so quickly on the show. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great Christmas if I don't see you before.